The dust hung thick in the air above Willow Creek, the kind of dry, relentless powder that settled into every crease of clothing and every line of a person's face. Eliza Harlan stood on the porch of the small clapboard house her husband had built 12 years earlier, watching the sun drop behind the jagged line of the Sierras. Her hands, rough from years of scrubbing, mending, and milking, gripped the railing until the wood groaned. Thomas had been gone 3 years now, a fall from the barn roof during a storm, quick, senseless, final. The town had buried him on a Tuesday, and by Wednesday the whispers started. Poor Eliza, too young to be alone. She'll need to remarry soon, or the claim will slip away. She hadn't remarried. She hadn't even considered it. The thought of another man's hands on her, another voice in her kitchen, felt like betrayal. Worse, it felt impossible. Who would choose a woman past 30 with calluses instead of softness, grief instead of laughter, and no children to sweeten the bargain? She kept the ranch running, barely. The cattle were down to 30 head after last winter's blight. The garden produced enough to feed her and the 2 hands she could still afford, and every night she fell into bed too tired to dream. That was how she liked it. Tired meant quiet. Until Caleb Monroe rode into town. He came on a late April afternoon, leading a string of horses that looked half wild and wholly valuable. Tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair that curled under his hat brim and eyes the color of storm clouds over the plains. He didn't speak much at first, just asked after the blacksmith, bought nails and wire, paid in silver, and left. But he kept coming back, for feed, for coffee at the mercantile, for a look that lingered a second too long when their paths crossed on the boardwalk. Eliza noticed. How could she not? Willow Creek was small. Strangers were events. She told herself it meant nothing. Men like him, drifters, horse traders, men who lived by the saddle, didn't stay. And even if they did, they wanted youth, beauty, promise, not a widow whose mirror showed lines carved by sorrow. One morning in May, when the cottonwoods were shedding their fluff like snow, Caleb appeared at her gate. He sat easy in the saddle, hat pushed back, a bay gelding dancing beneath him. "Mrs. Harlan," voice said, low and steady. "Word is you're selling off some yearlings. I'd like to take a look." She wiped her hands on her apron, suddenly aware of the streak of flour across her cheek, the loose strands of hair escaping her braid. "They're in the north pasture. I can show you." They walked together, the horses nickering softly. He asked questions, good ones, about bloodlines, feed, winter losses. She answered plainly, no flirtation, no coyness, just facts. When they reached the fence line, he dismounted and leaned on the rail, studying the cattle like they held secrets. "Strong stock," he said finally. "You've kept them alive through hard times. Thomas built the herd. I just didn't let it die with him." Caleb turned then, looked at her straight. "Takes more than not letting go to keep something alive. Takes fight." She felt heat rise in her face and turned away, pretending to count head. "You buying or just talking?" "Both, maybe." He paused. "I've been thinking of putting down roots. This valley's got good grass, good water, and good people." Her heart gave a traitorous thud. She forced a small laugh. "Plenty of widows here who'd welcome a man looking to settle." "I'm not looking at widows," he said quietly. "I'm looking at you." The words hung between them like smoke. She stared at the grass, at the slow drift of clouds, anywhere but his face. "You don't know me, Mr. Monroe." "I know enough. I know you rise before dawn and work till the stars come out. I know the way you buried your husband and didn't break. I know the way you look at this land like it's the only thing that never left you." She swallowed. "I'm 34. I'm worn out. I've got nothing to offer a man except hard work and memories." He stepped closer, not touching, just near enough she could smell leather and sage on him. "I've got memories too, Eliza. A wife who died of fever 8 years back. A daughter I lost the same winter. I carried that weight a long time. Thought it would bury me. Then I rode into Willow Creek and saw a woman standing on her porch like she owned every inch of sky behind her. And I thought maybe there's room for 2 people carrying things." Tears stung her eyes, sudden and unwelcome. She blinked them back. "You could have any woman here, younger, prettier, ones who haven't already loved and lost. I don't want any woman, he said. I want the one who knows what it costs to keep going, the one who doesn't pretend the past didn't happen. She looked at him then, really looked at him, saw the faint scar along his jaw, the quiet strength in his shoulders, the way his gaze never wavered. Something inside her, long frozen, cracked. I don't know if I can, she whispered. Then don't decide today, he said. Just let me help with the herd, fix the fence line that's sagging, bring you coffee in the morning if you'll let me. No promises beyond that, just time. She nodded once, small, afraid if she spoke she'd shatter. That summer unfolded slow and careful, like pages in an old book no one had opened for years. Caleb came every few days. He mended gates, branded calves, hauled water when the pump jammed. They spoke of small things, the price of beef in Sacramento, the way the river ran high this year, how the stars looked brighter after a rain. He never pushed, never asked for more than she could give, but he watched her, not with pity, not with hunger, with something steady and sure. And slowly, against every instinct she'd built since Thomas died, she began to watch him back. One evening in August, after a long day of cutting hay, they sat on the porch steps sharing a jar of cold tea. The sky was bruised purple, crickets loud in the grass. She felt the silence comfortable for the first time in years. "You ever think about leaving?" he asked. "Used to. Thought running would outrun the hurt. Didn't work. Me too. Thought if I worked hard enough, the quiet would stop hurting." He set the jar down. "Does it hurt still?" "Sometimes." She looked at her hands, scarred and strong. "But not the same. Not like I'm drowning anymore." He reached over, slow, giving her time to pull away, and covered her hand with his. Warm, calloused, alive. "Eliza," he said, "I don't want to replace him. I just want to stand beside you, if you'll let me." Her throat closed. She turned her hand over, laced her fingers through his. "I never thought anyone would choose me again. Not after. Not like this." He lifted her hand, pressed his lips to her knuckles. "I choose you. Every day I'm here, I'm choosing you." She leaned against him then, head on his shoulder, feeling the steady beat of his heart under the cotton of his shirt. The night wrapped around them, warm and full of possibility. They didn't marry that fall, or the next spring. There was no rush. They courted the way old wounds heal, slow, deliberate, with room for doubt and space for hope. He built a small cabin near the main house so she could keep her home hers. She cooked for him sometimes, left plates on the porch when pride kept her from asking him in. They rode fence lines together, shared stories of the people they'd lost, laughed at the way the new colt kept escaping his stall. By the time the aspens turned gold the second year, Eliza realized she wasn't waiting for permission anymore. She wasn't waiting to feel worthy. She simply felt. One crisp October morning, she found him in the barn, currying the bay. She leaned in the doorway, arms crossed. "Caleb Monroe," she said, "if you're still fool enough to want me, I'll marry you." He stopped, brush in hand, and grinned, the first full, unguarded grin she'd ever seen on him. "Fool enough?" he said. "Ma'am, I've been waiting for you to catch up." They read under the cottonwood by the creek. Just the preacher, the two hands, and a handful of neighbors who clapped like it was the best news the valley had heard in years. She wore her blue calico dress, the one that Thomas had liked. Caleb wore a clean shirt and his best boots. No flowers, no fuss. Just vows spoken plain and true. "I take you, Eliza, with all your yesterdays and all your tomorrows. And I take you, Caleb, because you saw me when I thought no one ever would again." That night, in the house that had once echoed with loneliness, they lay together in the wide bed, listening to the wind move through the trees. She traced the lines of his face in the dark, memorizing this new map of love. "I was wrong," she whispered. "About what?" "I thought love only came once, that after it left, the door locked behind it." He pulled her closer. Turns out the door was just waiting for the right hand to turn the knob. She smiled against his shoulder. Outside, the stars burned bright over Willow Creek,
and for the first time in years, Eliza Harlan fell asleep believing tomorrow might be kind.